People keep telling me, Dennis, if you read the CES letters, you'll leave the church. I read it, every page, and it didn't break my faith. It strengthened it. Tonight, I'm going to show you why. Not with spin, not with cherry picked quotes, but with context, primary sources, and actual scholarship. My witness, if you've been told this PDF will destroy your testimony, stay with me. If I can't show you what the CES letters leave out, fair, and you're free to call me out in the comments. But if I do, I want you to do something brave. Read both sides and ask God. Deal? It's a legal brief, a one-sided prosecution that stacks claims, collapses timelines, and often omits the most relevant context. That format is persuasive online, but it's not the same as history done carefully. Seriously, source responses exist. Official gospel topic essays, the Joseph Smith papers, and peer-reviewed scholarship. I'm going to reference those as we go, so you can check me. We'll use primary sources. Number one, the Book of Mormon translation. Critic claims Joseph used a seer stone in a hat, therefore it's fake. Context: early Latter-day Saints openly said God used instruments like the Urim and Thummim or seer stones to reveal text. Seer is a biblical term, multiple first-hand accounts from friends and critics describe the process. The church's essays summarizes those sources and Joseph's constant explanation. He translated by the gift and power of God. And the text itself, even the stone in a hat detail, has recent scholarly framing on what that actually meant in a 19th century revelatory context. Less scandal, more method. In a minute, I'll show you why the witnesses matter even more than the method. Number two, the witnesses. Another claim says that the witnesses were pressured or recanted. Reality: the 3 and the 8 repeatedly reaffirmed their testimony, even when alienated from Joseph and the church. Faithful models include a missing scroll hypothesis and a revelatory or catalyst model in which the papyri were means that God used to reveal Abraham's records. Read the official essay, then browse the Joseph Smith Papers dossier that reproduces the manuscripts and the Kirtland Egyptian materials so you can see the data, not just talking points. Bottom line, the fact that the fragments are Ptolemaic funeral text doesn't kill the scripture. The relevant question is what Joseph claimed: that God revealed the text. That gospel topic essays explicitly lays out the historical options and affirms the book's scriptural status. Number four, polygamy and polyamory. Claim: Joseph married many wives, including some already married. Therefore, deception. Context: the church essays acknowledges the complexity and pain, and that's important. It distinguishes types of sealings: eternity only versus time in eternity, and situates them in a biblical restoration framework. It also notes secrecy due to intense opposition. What about sexual polyandry? Historian Brian Hales, whose work is widely cited in this niche, concludes that the evidence for Joseph engaging in sexual relationships with women who had living husbands is lacking. Most such unions appear to be non-cohabiting religious sealings. He also reviews data suggesting relatively few consummated plural unions overall. Check his documentation and the best known case studies. None of this makes polygamy emotionally easy, but mislabeling every sealing as sexual polyandry is not supported by the record. Number 5, priesthood restoration timeline. Claim: Joseph backdated the restoration. No early mentions. Context: the Aaronic priesthood ordination by John the Baptist is recorded contemporaneously in May 1829. The earliest reference that name Peter, James, and John appears in the 1835 Doctrine and Covenants. Expanding in 1835, the Joseph Smith Papers cite explains this development plainly. This is not a gotcha. It's how sources survived and how early saints used evolving terms. Church history pages in JSP podcast further walk through why the events were placed in 1829, weeks or months after May 15. Number 6, DNA in the Book of Mormon. Claim: modern Native American DNA disproves the Book of Mormon. Context: population genetics can't recover every small, ancient migrant group, especially if they were a minority that mixed with a larger population. Founder effects, drift, bottleneck, and later admixture can erase signals. The church's DNA essay explains why no match equals disproved claim over promises what the science can do. It also clarifies the text itself doesn't demand that all American ancestors came from Lehi's family. Number 7, external correlation in the Old World. Nobody should hang a testimony on one artifact, but context cuts both ways. In Arabia, altars from a temple near Merid, Yemen, bear an NHM inscription dating to Lehi's era, coinciding with multiple treatments discuss how this aligns with the narrative's root. Further, candidates for Bountiful along Oman's Darfur's coast uniquely matches Nephi's description: fertile, fresh water, timber, access to the sea, iron-bearing ores, and an east from Nahum trajectory. Debates continues over which inlet best fits, but the cluster of features is striking. Number 8, first vision accounts. Claim: different first vision accounts equals contradiction. Context: Joseph related his experience multiple times for different audiences over years. Details vary, just like any repeated narrative, but the core remains: a young seeker prays, receives forgiveness, sees divine personages, and learns that the fullness of the gospel would not be found in any existing church. The official essay collects the sources with dates so you can compare. When I look at the different First Vision accounts, my testimony is actually strengthened. Why? Because of Joseph had memorized and rehearsed one polished version, it would sound scripted, and life doesn't work that way. When I was a child actor on a soap opera, I had to follow a script word for word. Later, when I recorded commercials, again, every line was written down and repeated exactly. That's what scripted looks like. But a true experience we told over years, it naturally shifts with settings, audience, and emphasis. The details can vary, but the core event stays the same. To me, that's further validation that Joseph's experience was real, not staged. Why the CES letters fails as history. Here's the pattern. Isolate the most alarming framing. Omit the context that specialist and primary sources provide. Declare debunked. That's not how responsible history works. When you put back the missing context, translation methods, and witnesses, real options for the Book of Abraham, the nuance of Nauvoo sealings, how early saints described priesthood, what genetics can and can't show, and external correlations. Arguments stop looking like slam dunks and start looking like complicated history that believers have already been openly discussing for years. I didn't join this church to please critics. I joined because God answered me. So here's my invite. Read the same sources I did, the gospel topic essays, the Joseph Smith papers. Pray, ask the Lord if the truth about the restoration, the Book of Mormon, and your next step. If you want receipts, they're in the descriptions. If you want peace, it comes by coming to Christ. It didn't break my faith, it built it. Because when you put context back in, the picture changes and the Spirit confirms what history can only point to. Jesus Christ leads his restored church today. If this helped, share it with a friend who's struggling. Drop your respectful questions below. I'll pin a follow-up Q&A and link all sources. Before I close, I need to thank my YouTube monthly members. You're the reason I can keep creating content like this. Your support lets me share my testimony and answer tough questions with honesty and faith. You're part of why someone out there finds hope when they feel like giving up. If you're not yet a member and you felt the Spirit during this video, I'd invite you to prayerfully consider joining, because together we're building more than a channel. We're building a community that floods the internet with truth and light.